Jimmy and JoAnne, we were talking last week about the International Criminal Court, which sounds like a good thing to most people. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great.
We're hanging in there, Jason.
We hope after our expose tonight that the name of that place is changed to the International Court run by criminals.
Exactly. Jimmy, you've always got such great insights. I love your sense of humor. And, you know, for people who haven't seen our show that's happening every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, it's Unseen Libya with Jimmy and JoAnne Moriarty, and it's going to be starting in just a half an hour on Patreon. I think people are becoming familiar with the notion that we're typically doing a 15 to 20 minute show here on YouTube to alert everybody that this type of information can't really be shared on YouTube, at least not in any kind of sustainable way, because this is the type of information that people purchase newspapers like the Washington Post in order to suppress. Jimmy and JoAnne have been soft-killed and blacklisted. They can't get this information out on YouTube. So we've created a show that's available to sponsors on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. JoAnne, you've just published an article today on your free website, which is libyanwarthetruth.com, and it's all about our topic for tonight, the International Criminal Court and corruption specifically targeted towards Libya. What can you tell us about this?
Well, the International Criminal Court has targeted Libya for a long time. They're hand in hand with the Khazarian mafia, imperialist, Western New World Order people. And what's happened in Libya, you know, there's a lot of war crimes that were committed. They haven't looked at any of the war crimes that were committed. Instead, they hold Dr. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, they hold a warrant for him for war crimes. And the war crimes, of course, are made up. Senator Dick Black and I have talked about this a bunch. He's the man who actually wrote the ICC rules for the ICC, and they were corrupted after he wrote them. But Dr. Saif is probably 90%. He's probably got a 90% approval rating in Libya. He would be elected in a landslide if they ever have an election. But the ICC doesn't want him in there, so they hold this warrant. They say he was the one who shot people in the street that started the revolution. Dr. Saif has never been in the military. He doesn't have guns. He's not a politician. He's a statesman. He's got a PhD in engineer, or a master's in engineering, a PhD in something else, but highly educated. He's a humanitarian. He would never do anything like this. This is crazy. And we know now that it was Qatar. The three snipers were from Qatar, and they were killed afterwards and taken out in the desert and dumped.
But we're going to explain tonight how the ICC got started, who wrote the charter documents and everything, how they were corrupted by the State Department, and how its activities flow today. So we're going to expose from A to Z. We'll name names, dates, times, what happened, how it happened, and how this is the ICC is actually a foreign-owned, for-profit corporation. It is not a court of law. It's a for-profit corporation, and that's even they out themselves by listing everything they do as statutes, which are corporate items, not legal items. So, you know, we're gonna really detail how, why, and what. This is a corrupt organization. It started off really good, written very well by a wonderful guy, Senator Dick Black. At the time, he was the ranking legal authority in the Pentagon for the military, and he was tasked to write the organizing documents for the ICC. He did that, and when he finished, a beautiful document that really recognized sovereignty and required countries to be responsible for their own acts, etc., and respect other countries. It was turned over to the State Department, and since the bad guys couldn't have a new inquisition, they organized the ICC to have some legitimate looking front, so they go out and slash and burn and chop people up, you know.
Well, Senator Black said they turned it into a political tool.
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
they did. And so it's got the face that it's like it's an international criminal court, but it's not. It's a corrupt organization run by puppet masters.
And really, it's racist. It's one of the worst institutions in the world. Period.
Wow.
Well, you know, John Bolton recently, right before he was fired or left or whatever happened to him, the ICC started to look into some war crimes that the U.S. had and Israel had committed. And actually, I think Dr. Francis Boyle, we're going to talk about him, probably the leading legal authority for international law and war crimes. He put this in. I think he issued the claim and like 9 years ago. They finally looked at it. When they looked at it, as soon as they looked at it, John Bolton said, there will never be any claims, or you will never look at any claims for war crimes against the United States or any of its allies. And if you do, your criminal court will be under attack. They will be arrested. The people on the court will be arrested.
Wow.
And I mean, just a
so
huge
the bad
amount of
guys
threats.
indemnified themselves.
John Bolton is just about the most terrible guy I'm aware of.
Oh yeah.
Horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of people think, help me out to understand this. What is the difference between The Hague and the ICC, or is there a difference between those two things?
Well, The Hague is a location. That's the name of the city.
Ah.
And the ICC is inside
The
Hague. That's The Hague is that city. Real pretty place in the Netherlands, and in fact, the European Union has offices in The Hague. You know, it's been a quasi legitimate neutral stalwart forever. You know, The Hague was always looked at as a place you could go hold meetings and conferences and everything, and everybody got a fair shake. But the ICC to be located there, and of course this gets back into who owns everything and who operates everything. But you know, when you see a court, which is not a court but a for-profit corporation operating under statutes, then you can throw the legality out the window.
They appoint attorneys to be judges.
Yeah.
The one for Africa is a lady from where is she from? Gambia.
Yeah.
Gambia.
Bought and paid for.
Yeah. Her name is Bensouda, is her last name, but she's absolutely corrupt.
Yeah. Has no trouble getting her legs under any table full of food. No problem with that. But you know, she's corrupt. She's given her orders about what she's supposed to do. And like was it Senator Black that said it looks like this, because we asked him to try to help and see if he could try to help SAFE in his endeavors to try to get this false warrant thrown out. And Senator Black says it looks like they took newspaper articles and drafted their complaint based on what they read in the newspaper.
They did.
There's absolutely no basis.
There's no foundation for anything they say. None.
And the judge in this, judge should be impartial. Judge has already said SAFE is guilty without ever hearing anything.
Wow. So obviously it's not governed by U.S. law. We don't even know if people who appear before the court are considered innocent until proven guilty. Senator Black told us a couple weeks ago at this point when we had him on the show about how he was involved in the creation of the ICC, but like so many institutions, he was very disappointed at how it has turned out in the years since his involvement. So that's interesting to get his input on what's happening there now. So do we have any indication of what's going to happen to Dr. Gaddafi?
The tribes the tribes contacted me and asked me to please help them because this is their big concern. They know their country's going to be cleansed at some point of the Muslim Brotherhood puppet and terrorists that are in there, and then they want to have a full country election. The only thing stopping Dr. Saif from running is this warrant, but it really isn't stopping him because the ICC really has no power.
The only way the ICC functions is the big gorilla behind them that beats everybody up. So the U.S. and the Khazarian mafia are behind the ICC. So when the ICC wants to come down and hammer somebody, then the big gorilla is right there behind them. So they have the appearance of a legitimate court of law. But really what they are is they're another hammer. They're another tool used by the bad guys to control the environment. They're selling the agenda.
We're going to talk about what Dr. Boyle says. about what the agenda of the ICC is, what the agenda of NATO is, and he says that they are recolonizing Africa.
Yeah.
That the imperialists they're going to take over Africa again, even more so than they ever did. That France is started this already.
Wow.
They're going to continue to rape the continent of Africa, and it's a real interesting.
Dr. Francis Boyle, very prolific writer. I recommend everybody go out and if you don't buy his books, go to the library and check him out and read them. He is a brilliant guy. He is absolutely the most alert international attorney. Focused on ICC and NATO and everything.
I think he teaches at University of Chicago, but he's the only person to ever beat NATO, I think, in a court of law. He did in Switzerland.
Well, really good guy.
Viewers of Discovery CSI with David Hawkins are likely to be immediately skeptical of the University of Illinois. I haven't met Francis Boyle, but I trust you guys implicitly. What do you think about the corruption in Illinois?
Okay, you need to go read the article. I can't read my own writing. He absolutely made this huge derogatory statement.
Oh, denouncing Obama.
Denouncing Obama at the University of Illinois. When they gave him an award, Francis Boyle came out and said, "This guy is a war criminal. He should be in jail. They should be tasked to make him accountable for all the 5,000 drone attacks he ordered and instructed." So believe me, Francis Boyle has been against Obama, and he said Obama followed him in law school at Harvard, and he said that he's a bad guy. And he said for the University of Illinois to give him an award, he said, is an absolute disgrace. So read the dissertation.
He stands all the time against crimes against humanity and what NATO has done, and what he stood up for Libya. He said this email I sent to him, we started talking about the ICC. He wrote back. He said, "I have one sentence for them. Tell them have no involvement with the ICC. Don't talk to them. Don't recognize them. If you're in the ICC, get out. If you're not in, don't get in. Because the less countries that recognize it as an entity, the better." Because it is he called it what? He called it the mad dog, the dog that they sick on all third world countries and all peoples of color.
And he said they're racist. He said every country in the world should disavow themselves of any relationship with the ICC because it is absolutely the worst entity out there.
Yeah, well, I like the guy already. SRS 4859 is asking, Jimmy, did you mention anything about Karen Hudis?
Well, you know, I don't know much about her. Yeah, I know a lot about her, but she puts out information, and you know, supposedly she was inside the banking world, and she outs the banking world. But you know, my read on her, and this is my opinion, half of what she says is right, and half of it's questionable. So you know, is she a COINTELPRO operative, you know, or not? I don't know, but you can't take everything she says to heart.
Yeah, and I think we know some other people who talk about her who I feel exactly the same way about. They're probably lying or drunk most of the time, so we'll leave that there. Yeah. We've got just about 15 minutes until we begin our subscriber-only show, the sponsor show that will be available on Patreon and Subscribestar. People who are watching us right now on YouTube or Periscope or Facebook or DLive or any of the platforms that we're on, even if you're watching on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, now is the perfect time to get over to patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. Sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon. We're going to be getting into the details of Dr. Boyle's evaluation of the International Criminal Court and the political poker game that they're trying to play to prevent the extremely popular son of Muammar Gaddafi from being elected the rightful leader of Libya, as he is greatly loved, as his father was, by the people of Libya. The show's going to be available to sponsors on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Jimmy and JoAnne, before we make the transition over to our sponsor-only show, was there anything else you wanted to add here on YouTube?
Yes, sir. I want to give your big audience the names of some of the books that Dr. Boyle has written. Destroying Libya and World Order. It was a 3-decade attack on Libya to stop all the activities of Muammar Gaddafi. World Politics and International Laws, another great book of his. Biowarfare and Terrorism, another really good book of his. And then his denouncement of Obama at the University of Illinois is very, very telling. Yeah, so anybody really wants to know this guy, go to those books, read them. He is a very interesting character. He is an honor to the legal profession in the United States. Absolutely good guy.
Yeah, and standing up to the corruption of Barack Obama, particularly when you're a professor at the University of Illinois, takes guts. So I like that. I like it that he did that. So we're going to close it out right here. Looking forward to seeing our generous sponsors on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We can't keep these stories coming without your sponsorship. This is exactly the type of information that social engineers and big moneyed news outlets are trying to suppress. So get on over to Patreon or Subscribestar and join us there at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see everybody there. Thanks very much, Jimmy and JoAnne. I'll see you in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Jason.
Great.